AITA for walking away from my ex and her brother when things got messy. My name is Josiah, and this happened a few months ago, but honestly, it still sits in my head every single day. I was dating a girl named Ariel for almost a year. We met at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. One of those nights where the music's too loud, but you somehow find someone you can actually talk to. She wasn't the loudest person in the room, but she had that kind of calm energy that makes you want to stay near her. When we started talking, it just flowed. She laughed easily, asked thoughtful questions, and when she smiled, she didn't look away like most people do. She just looked right at you. For the first few months, it was good, better than good, actually. We texted every morning, called every night, spent weekends getting takeout, and watching shows we both pretended to like just to spend time together. We had little habits that made the relationship feel alive. She'd always bring me those chocolate bars I liked whenever she came over. I'd walk her to the bus stop every Sunday night before she went home, even if it was raining. We didn't need much, just small things. But somewhere after month 9, things started to shift. It wasn't dramatic, not at first. Just little changes that you don't notice until they start piling up. I got busier with work and she got quieter. She'd text me and I'd take longer to reply. She started saying things like, "You seem far away lately," or "Did I do something wrong?" I'd tell her everything was fine, but the truth was, I didn't know what I wanted anymore. It wasn't her fault. She hadn't changed. I had. The last few weeks before the breakup were filled with silence. Not angry silence, but that heavy kind where you both know something's ending, but neither of you wants to say it out loud. I'd sit next to her and feel like she was already gone. So one night, after dinner, I told her I thought we should stop seeing each other. She looked at me for a long time, eyes steady, and said, "Okay, if that's what you want." No begging, no yelling, just that. And somehow, that made it worse. For about a week, everything was quiet. I thought maybe we'd both just move on, quietly and peacefully. But then, one night around midnight, I got a long text from her. It wasn't angry. It was confused, desperate in a soft way. She asked, "Was it me? And did you meet someone else? And be honest, Josiah." It hurt to read because I could feel how much she needed an answer that I couldn't give. I replied kindly, told her she hadn't done anything wrong, that I just didn't feel the same anymore. She said, "Okay," and for a while, I thought that would be it. But the next day, there was another message, then another, then a few missed calls. At first, I tried to respond, but the messages kept coming. Long ones, short ones, sometimes just a single question mark. When I didn't answer, she'd try through other apps, Instagram, Facebook, even email. It felt like no matter where I went, she'd find a way to reach me. I didn't want to block her right away. A part of me still cared. I didn't want her to think I hated her. But every time my phone lit up, my stomach dropped. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from someone named Dylan, her brother. I remembered her mentioning him a few times, saying he was protective, maybe a little too much. His message started politely enough. "Hey man, I just want to talk, man to man, about what happened with you and my sister." I didn't want any drama, so I replied. I told him I respected Ariel a lot, but the relationship just didn't work. That was all. He didn't take it well. The next morning, I woke up to 3 new messages from him, long voice notes. He called me names, said I'd broken his sister's confidence, that I'd made her feel worthless. He told me she'd been crying every night, that I should at least be a man and talk to her properly. The thing is, I had, but he wasn't listening. He just wanted someone to blame. I ignored him, thinking he'd cool off, but instead, it got worse. He started messaging me from different Facebook accounts, all under his name. Sometimes he'd sound calm, asking, "Just tell me what really happened between you two." Other times, he'd get aggressive, writing things like, "You think you can hurt her and walk away, or you'll regret treating her like that." It was constant, morning, night, every platform. A few days later, Ariel texted me again. Her tone was different this time, softer, almost ashamed. She said she was sorry for everything, that she hadn't meant for things to spiral. I told her I appreciated it, but I needed space from both her and her brother. She promised she'd talk to him and make it stop, and for a little while, it did. 2 days of peace. Then, it all came crashing back. The messages started again, but something about them felt off. The tone, the wording, it wasn't Ariel. They were harsh, cold, almost like someone trying to sound like her, but not quite getting it right. One message said, "You're selfish. You only ever cared about yourself." Another said, "You're a coward." I scrolled through the messages, confused and angry. That's when I noticed small details, phrases I'd seen Dylan use before. That's when it hit me. He was using her account. I tried emailing Ariel directly to tell her, but she didn't respond. For days, the messages kept coming, dozens of them. Some long paragraphs, some just a single word, "Why?" I didn't know what else to do. I called her once. She didn't pick up, so I blocked both of them on everything. I thought that would finally finally be the end. But then I got one more message from a new email address I didn't recognize. It was Ariel. Her email was short and quiet. Dylan was using my phone and laptop while I was staying at my mom's. I didn't know he'd been messaging you that much. I'm sorry for all of it. She said she hadn't meant for any of it to happen, that she'd asked him to stop, but he didn't listen. She said she understood if I didn't want to talk to her again. Her words sounded tired, heavy, like someone who had run out of energy to defend anyone anymore. I sat there reading her message for a long time. I wanted to reply, to say I understood, to tell her it wasn't her fault, but I didn't. I just closed my laptop, because deep down, I knew that if I answered, everything would start again. For weeks after I blocked Ariel and Dylan, the silence felt wrong. Not peaceful, but empty in a way that made me question whether I'd done the right thing. I kept expecting another message, another number, another email I didn't recognize. Every time my phone buzzed, I braced myself for it, but nothing came, just silence. At first, it was heavy, the kind of silence that doesn't soothe you. It just stares back, waiting for you to fill it. I'd wake up and instinctively check my phone, expecting her name to be there, but it never was. And slowly, that became normal. I focused on work, saw friends more, tried to rebuild a rhythm that didn't involve checking who'd viewed my story or wondering if she was okay. I didn't talk about her much, but she was always somewhere in the background, like a quiet thought you don't want to admit is still there. Then one morning in early June, while checking work messages, I noticed a new notification. It wasn't from my email or phone. It was from LinkedIn, of all places. I thought it was some company recruiter, but when I opened it, my stomach dropped. It was from Dylan. The message was short. I owe you an apology. Ariel told me everything. I didn't know how bad it got. I must have read it 5 times before I even breathed. At first, I didn't know what to think. Part of me was angry. Angry that he thought a simple message could erase months of harassment. But another part of me felt relief. Like maybe the chapter was actually closing. I didn't reply right away. I let it sit there for hours while I stared at my screen, wondering if I should respond at all. Eventually, I typed back, "Thank you. I hope your sister's doing better." He replied 10 minutes later, "She's doing okay. Moved to another city. Got a job at an art studio. She paints again. You'd probably like her new stuff. She seems happier." He said Ariel had wanted to reach out to me, but she wasn't sure if it would help or just make things harder. I didn't know how to feel about that. I just sat there, rereading the message, thinking about the girl I used to know, sitting cross-legged on my couch, painting tiny flowers in the margins of her notebook. That night, I got another email. This time, it was from Ariel. It started softly. "Hey, Josiah, I'm not writing to reopen anything. I just wanted to say thank you for how you handled everything. I know things got out of hand, and I wasn't fair to you either. I forgive you, and I hope you can forgive me, and Dylan too." She wrote that she'd been in therapy, that she finally realized how much she'd been depending on me for her own stability. She said she was learning to be okay on her own again. Then, near the end of the email, she wrote something that stayed with me. Sometimes closure isn't about fixing what happened. It's about accepting that it did. It should have ended there, but it didn't. A few days later, another email came, this one longer. She said she'd come across some of our old photos while moving. She said seeing them made her cry, not because she missed me, but because she finally understood why things fell apart. She said she wanted to meet one last time, not to talk about the past, but to end it properly, face to face. I hesitated for days. Every instinct told me to leave it alone, but a part of me, the part that still wondered if she'd forgiven me fully, wanted to go. So I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. She looked different, shorter hair, softer smile. There was something lighter about her, but also something distant, like she'd finally made peace with the part of her life that included me. We talked for nearly an hour, about work, about her art, about how she'd started teaching painting classes to kids. She laughed when I told her I'd taken up running again. It almost felt like old times, except this time, it didn't hurt. But then, as we were saying goodbye, she said something that hit harder than anything before. "You know, Josiah, for a long time I thought you ruined me. But now I realize you just showed me where I'd lost myself." There was no anger in her voice, just quiet honesty. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. As I watched her walk away, I thought that was the end. But life, it seems, doesn't let endings be clean. 2 weeks later, I got a message from Dylan again. This time, it wasn't an apology. He said Ariel had been distant since seeing me, that she'd been quiet again, lost in thought. He asked me if I'd said anything to upset her. I told him no, that we just talked. He didn't believe me. He started accusing me again, saying I'd stirred things up, that I'd walked back into her life just to disappear again. It took everything in me not to reply in anger. Instead, I just said, "Please, Dylan, let her heal. Let this end." And I blocked him again. That night, Ariel texted one last time. Just one sentence. "Thank you for meeting me. I'm okay. Don't worry about what he says." That was the last I ever heard from her. Months have passed since then. Sometimes I see her posts online. A new painting, a photo of her smiling with friends, sunlight pouring through her studio window. She looks happy, lighter, free, and in a strange way, I feel the same. The end. Alright, Josiah, straight up, you're not the Aita. Seriously, you handled a really messy, emotional situation way better than most people would've. Let's break this down without turning it into a lecture. Just some real talk with a bit of chill on top. You didn't cheat, lie, or play games. You were honest when your feelings started fading, and that's something a lot of people don't have the guts to do. You could have dragged things out, but instead you ended it before it got ugly. That's not cruel, that's fair. You gave her clarity when your heart wasn't in it anymore, and that's all anyone can really do. Now, yeah, Ariel reacted hard. Understandably. Breakups suck, especially when one person's still hanging on. But her brother going all keyboard warrior across every app like he was avenging a Marvel character? That's not on you. You tried to stay decent, explain your side, and even show respect. When the situation turned toxic, you stepped back, and that's what boundaries are for. Blocking them wasn't cold, it was necessary. You didn't ghost her out of ego. You just didn't want to keep hurting each other. And later, when she reached out with maturity, you were kind. You didn't rub anything in, didn't reopen the drama, just let peace be peace. Even meeting her for closure showed real emotional control. You kept things grounded and respectful. Dylan popping back up again at the end, that dude clearly doesn't understand the concept of move on. You handled that with more patience than most people would've. You didn't fight, didn't throw shade. You just chose calm over chaos. That's rare, man. Here's the thing. Sometimes you're not the villain or the hero. You're just a person who outgrew a chapter and chose not to keep rereading it. You cared, you tried, you let go. That's growth, not guilt. So yeah, no question, not the Aita. You made the right calls, even when they hurt. You kept your cool while everything around you was falling apart. That's not something to beat yourself up over. That's something to respect. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments. AITA for not forcing my best friend to leave her toxic relationship. My name is Naya, and this happened not long ago. I'm 20 years old, and I've known my best friend Riley since we were 4. We grew up next door to each other, spent summers building blanket forts in her living room, and promised that no matter what, we'd always be family. We shared everything. Our first crushes, our first heartbreaks, every secret that felt too heavy to carry alone. I thought we would always have each other through every storm. We stayed close through high school, even as our worlds started to pull us in different directions. Riley played volleyball. I chased art. She dreamed of traveling. I wanted to build something that would last, but we were always there for one another. When she went through her first heartbreak, she called me immediately. When I failed my first college class, she stayed on the phone with me until I stopped crying. It felt like we were tethered together by some invisible line that no one else could see. That line, I thought, would never break. Until Bo. It started last December at a mutual friend's party. I almost didn't go. Tired, overwhelmed, craving quiet. But Riley insisted, "Come on, Naya. We need one fun night. Please." I gave in half-heartedly. That's where I saw him. Bo, tall, confident, with a smile that seemed to bend the room toward him. The kind of man who makes everyone else invisible without trying. The moment he noticed Riley, it was like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. She had a boyfriend then, Dimitri, someone she'd been dating for over a year, a stable, calm presence who had been good to her. But that night, something shifted. I watched as her laughter grew lighter. Her body leaned closer to Bo's as he spoke, as if she'd forgotten Dimitri existed at all. By the time we left, her relationship with Dimitri was over. The next morning, Riley told me everything like she was announcing some wonderful revelation. "I don't know, Naya," she said, grinning over her coffee. "It just feels right with Bo." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But there was a flicker of something inside me. Unease, a warning that I couldn't quite name. Everything moved too fast. Within 2 weeks, Bo was at her apartment constantly. Within a month, his toothbrush was on her bathroom counter. I remember looking at it and asking, "Don't you think this is fast?" She just smiled. "When it's real, it doesn't need time." 2 months later, she called me crying, not from heartbreak, but from exhilaration. Bo had proposed. She wanted me to be her maid of honor. I said yes, though part of me felt like I was saying yes to a storm I could see coming. It wasn't until spring that I saw the cracks. We met for coffee one morning, and as Riley reached into her bag, I noticed bruises along her wrist. My stomach sank. She pulled her sleeve down quickly. "It's nothing," she said, but her eyes didn't meet mine. I hit the counter. Her voice wavered for the barest moment, and I wanted to scream at her to tell me the truth. I didn't. A few weeks later, she came to my apartment, eyes red and swollen. Her hands trembled as she fumbled with her bag. "We fought," she said softly. "I went out with coworkers, and he got angry, shouted, slammed doors, threw my phone." And then she laughed lightly, as if it had been some trivial thing. "He just gets emotional sometimes," she whispered. "But he loves me. He really does." I shook my head. Love shouldn't leave bruises. Love shouldn't leave you afraid of your own home. She told me I didn't understand. And from that moment, I watched her start to disappear. She stopped coming to our gatherings. Her social media filled with staged smiles, long captions about growth and happiness. But when I looked at her, I saw someone shrinking. Her laughter at our calls was quieter. She no longer called me first. Texts from her phone were intercepted, answered by Bo. She's resting. She's busy. She'll call later. Sometimes, he even called me directly. Naya, she gets overwhelmed, he said once, his voice soft. But the undertone was something else. Possessive, dismissive. I'm helping her focus. By early summer, Riley had nearly vanished from everyone's lives. Her mom called one night, panic in her voice, asking if I'd heard from her. I hadn't. I began leaving messages, checking her social media obsessively, seeing the filtered pictures of happiness that felt like lies. Then, one morning in July, my phone blew up with messages from friends. Did you see Riley's post? Please tell me this isn't real. My heart sank as I opened Facebook. There she was, Riley, standing beneath a simple arch of white flowers, holding Bo's hand. She was in a pale dress, smiling. The caption read, "Forever starts today." They'd eloped. No family, no friends, no warning. Just like that, my best friend, my sister in everything but blood, had married the man everyone had warned her about. Her mother was devastated. Our friends were stunned. I was empty. We had spoken only 2 weeks earlier. She had promised me she wasn't rushing. She wanted to take her time. And yet, she had disappeared into a new life without telling anyone. I didn't comment. I didn't text her. I couldn't. I stared at the photo for what felt like hours. Her smile was wide, but her eyes were hollow, tired. It was the same look she had given me at coffee when she tried to laugh off Bo throwing her phone. The same flicker I had been trying to ignore for months. Days passed. Friends left congratulations, heart emojis, messages of love and support. But I couldn't see past her eyes. I couldn't see past the shadows she was hiding. Eventually, I sent a short message. "I'm here if you ever need me." No response. A week later, I got a message from her number, but it wasn't her. "Riley appreciates your concern," Bo wrote. "She's fine. Please respect our privacy." I froze. The line between them had become a wall. Her voice, her agency, was gone behind his words, and I felt powerless. I asked myself every day, was I wrong to step back? Was it cruel not to chase her anymore? Or was it the only way to survive, to keep from being swallowed by the chaos she was trapped in? Because how do you save someone who doesn't want to be saved? How do you protect someone who believes their pain is love? Weeks turned into months. I tried checking her social media occasionally. She posted photos of sunsets, parks, and vague captions. New beginnings, finding myself. I wanted to believe she was okay. I clung to that hope, small and fragile. But inside, the worry never went away. Every birthday, every small achievement, every ordinary day I saw her missing, I felt a hollow ache. I hadn't heard from Riley since the day she eloped. Every few weeks, I would send a short, simple message. Nothing emotional, just a small thinking of you or hope you're okay. I never expected a reply, and most of the time, I didn't get one. The silence gnawed at me, a dull ache I carried everywhere. I found myself checking her social media obsessively, scanning every comment, every like, hoping for some hint that she was still herself somewhere inside that life Bo had built around her. Then, one quiet afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Hey, it's me." My heart stopped. I froze. That one line, so small, carried the weight of years. I knew immediately it was her. Without thinking, I called. The phone rang once, twice, and then she answered. Her voice was thin, almost fragile, like she was speaking through layers of exhaustion and fear. "Hi, Naya," she whispered. "I'm at my mom's for a few days. Bo's out of town." For a moment, I didn't say anything. I just listened to her breathe. Then I said, softly, "I'm here." We talked for over an hour that day. She told me she missed me, her words shaking as if they were foreign. She said she hadn't realized how much she'd let herself fade away, how slowly her world had shrunk until it was just her and him. Then she cried, and hearing it over the phone made something inside me break. "I thought I could fix him," she said quietly. "I thought I could make him love me in a way that wouldn't hurt. But every time I try, I lose more of myself." She told me about the ways Bo had controlled her life, how he read her messages before she could send them, how he decided what she wore, who she could see, where she could go, how every small misstep, going out with a friend, replying to a coworker, even laughing too loudly, became a justification for his anger. He'd apologize afterward, swear he'd do better, promise she could trust him, but every apology was followed by a tighter leash, a smaller world, a quieter Riley. "I feel trapped," she said, voice trembling. "And I can't even explain it to anyone, Naya. I feel like I'm disappearing, like I'm not even me anymore." I wanted to drive to her immediately, to pull her out of that apartment, to carry her home if I had to. But she whispered, almost pleading, "Not yet. I just need time. Please don't rush me." Over the next few weeks, she began texting regularly. At first, it was small things, a song she liked, a memory from our childhood, a funny thing her mom said. Gradually, it became deeper. She told me about her days at her mom's, how she felt small in Bo's absence, how the quiet made her realize what she'd lost of herself. She admitted she cried alone at night, her hands trembling as she scrolled through old photos, thinking about about freedom and what it meant to her. We had arguments over text, too. Fights about small things, about her not trusting me, about her thinking I was judging her for staying with him. Sometimes she'd say, "You don't understand him. He's good to me sometimes." And sometimes I'd scream in my head, "Good to you doesn't mean safe for you." But I learned to temper my words. I couldn't push her too far. I had to let her lead the way back to herself. Then, one day, the messages stopped. Her number stopped working. Her Facebook disappeared. Her Instagram vanished as if she'd erased herself from the world entirely. I called her mom frantically. She said Riley had gone back to Bose a week ago, and she hadn't heard from her since. The panic inside me roared. My stomach twisted every time I imagined what might be happening. I pictured arguments escalating, doors slamming, isolation tightening its grip around her. I felt helpless, furious, desperate. 3 weeks later, my phone buzzed with an email from Riley's address. "Don't worry about me. I needed to leave for a while. Thank you for always being patient. I'll reach out when I'm ready." That was it. No location, no explanations, just her words, simple and distant. I read the email over and over. I stared at it for hours, wishing for any hint of where she was or what she was doing. But there was nothing. I tried to imagine her somewhere safe. Maybe she was painting again, like she always loved. Maybe she was sitting by the ocean, the place she said made her feel free. Maybe she was learning to breathe again, to be Riley without Bo's shadow. But I had no way to know. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Every time I checked my phone, I hoped for a ping from an unknown number. Every social media scroll, I searched for her presence. I wrote messages, drafts I never sent, long paragraphs about how much I loved her, how worried I was, how I'd be there no matter what. But I didn't send them. She needed space, and I had promised I'd respect that. I fought with guilt constantly. Was I abandoning her by not showing up? Was I letting her fall further into that life by giving her distance? Could I have done something differently? My friends told me to let go, that there was nothing I could do, but my heart refused to listen. I knew I had to wait, but waiting was excruciating. The end. All right, Naya, straight up, you're not the Aita. You did what any real friend with a good heart would have done, and honestly, you handled the whole thing way better than most people could. You saw your best friend getting tangled up in something that looked more like control than love, and you tried to help without making it worse. That's not being cold, that's being careful. You gave her space when pushing harder might have just driven her further into his grip. That takes real maturity. Not everyone knows when to step back. The guilt you're feeling? Totally normal. It's hard watching someone you love disappear into a situation like that, but you didn't cause it, and you couldn't fix it alone. You were her safe spot when she needed one, and that counts for a lot. As for a little joke to lighten it, you basically became her emotional tech support. "Hey Riley, have you tried turning off toxic relationships and turning on self-respect?" But jokes aside, you did what you could. You cared, you waited, you didn't give up on her. That's not being the Aita, that's being a real one. The kind of friend who stays even when the story gets messy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments, and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for breaking up with my girlfriend on her birthday. Click here to watch it now.